Hey everybody, welcome back to the Wolf Pit with another episode of What Are We Eating? I love a good homemade pot pie, whether it's beef, chicken, or turkey, with a rich, savory gravy, lots of fresh, tender vegetables, lots of tender chunks of meat, and of course we cannot forget about the golden brown, flaky, and delicious crust, which by the way is my secret recipe. But not everyone wants to or has the time to make a homemade pot pie, even if they use my secret pie crust recipe. So they head down the frozen food aisle and pick up a frozen pot pie. Though homemade or semi-homemade is always better, some frozen pot pies are really good. And most of all, they're convenient. But you gotta keep them frozen. If your freezer goes out, they go bad. But you can avoid the freezer and not worry about it going bad if your freezer goes out by picking up a pot pie in a can. Like this Denny Moore pot pie in a can, which was about as good as you would think a pot pie in a can would be. And it had no crust. It was more like potato soup with a little bit of chicken in it. It wasn't very good at all. But there's another option for a pot pie in a can with a crust. Like this Fray Bentos chicken and mushroom deep fill pie in a can with a crust. I've had two other Fray Bentos pies in a can before. The steak and kidney pie and the deep fill steak and ale pie. Both were very good. Even considering, on the steak and kidney pie, I made a mistake and threw away the best part of the crust. The soggy and doughy part underneath the crispy crust. I thought it was underdone. But you, the people, on the other side of the pond, let me know that's the way it's supposed to be, it's the best part, and I made a big mistake by throwing it away. So I had to try another Fray Bentos pie, and I got the steak and ale pie, and I tried the soggy dough, and you, the people, on the other side of the pond, were absolutely right. It was the best part. I ended up eating the whole pie. In those videos, I got a few comments about the chicken and mushroom pie. A lot of people liked them, it was their favorite, and they suggested I try one. So that's what I'm gonna do. I got the Fray Bentos chicken and mushroom deep fill pie on Amazon for $10.65, which sounds like a lot of money, but that included free shipping from the UK. Well, we all know it wasn't free shipping. The shipping cost was added into the price. So I'm asking you, the people, on the other side of the pond, how much are these pies in the UK? This pie weighs in at 475 grams or 16.75 ounces, which is a pretty good sized pie. Just like all the other Fray Bentos products I've had, the ingredients are pretty simple. There's not a whole lot of fillers or other garbage. And the chicken is real chicken and nothing but chicken. But the chicken only makes up for 20% of the pie, and the mushrooms only 3%. You would think with it being a chicken and mushroom pie, it would have a higher percentage of chicken and mushrooms. The nutritional information is for half a pie, but face it, most of us are going to eat the whole pie. So I'm going to give the nutritional information for the whole pie. For the whole pie, there's a devilish amount of calories, 666 of them to be exact. Then there's 29 grams of total fat, 2 grams of saturated fat, 72.2 grams of carbohydrates, 2.8 grams of sugars, 2.4 grams of fiber, 29 grams of protein, and 3.22 grams of salt, which equates to 1,256 milligrams of sodium. If it turns out any good, it might make for a good food storage item with a long Best By date. They suggested on the can to try one of their meaty puds, which I have, and it sure tasted a whole lot better than it looked. But where did they come up with the name Meaty Pud? That sounds like a midget male stripper's name. I can see it and hear it now. Ladies, introducing Meaty Pud, the human tripod. Now the heating instructions are pretty simple. Remove the lid with a robust can opener, not a regular can opener, but a robust can opener. Then it goes onto a baking pan and into a 450 degree oven for 25 to 30 minutes or until the crust is risen and is golden brown. And even though the instructions said to remove the lid with a robust can opener, they still have to put a warning on the can to remove the lid. So we all know some Darwin Award winner tried baking the unopened can in a 450 degree oven and wondered why the can swelled up like a can of surströmming and blew up. So I opened it up with what I guess was a robust can opener because it didn't have a problem opening it. And here's what it looks like when you open it up. This one, the pastry seems to be a little bit lighter in color than the other ones I've had. So now it goes into a preheated 450 degree oven for 25 to 30 minutes or until the crust is risen and is golden brown. After baking for 25 minutes in a 450 degree oven, our Fray Bentos chicken and mushroom deep fill pie is nice and golden brown and piping hot. Now listen to how nice and crispy the outside is. I broke through the top layer of golden brown crispy crust, all the way into the prized, soggy doughy layers of pastry. I had to try a piece of the golden brown crispy deliciousness first. And it sure didn't let down. It tasted as good as it looked. Crispy, buttery, and delicious. Then I dug in again to get more crispy crust, along with some of the prized gooey crust. And again, it didn't let me down. It might not have let me down, but it sure did fall down, right off my fork. No! Then it was time to get a big forkful of the soggy doughy crust on its own. And of course it had a little bit of gravy on it. I know to most of us, eating crust on a pot pie that's soggy and not crispy just doesn't sound good. But believe me, it's really good on this. But there didn't seem to be as much of the soggy doughy crust in the chicken and mushroom pie as there was in the other pies. I guess depending on how you look at it, that could be a good or a bad thing. But if you're like me and you like the crispy and the doughy crust, it's a bad thing. So I switched over to a spoon and got a big scoop of everything. The chicken, the gravy, and the mushrooms. And there was even a little piece of dough hiding in there. And overall, it was pretty good. The gravy was really rich and super creamy. The texture and the consistency reminded me of New England clam chowder, obviously without the clams. The gravy had a pretty strong mushroom flavor, but I couldn't really detect any mushrooms. I guess when there's only 3% mushrooms, you're not going to get many. I guess that's where the mushroom powder came in. But overall, the gravy was good. I had to go in for a bite of everything. The crispy crust, the soggy doughy crust, the chicken, the gravy, and the mushrooms. And it was all good. It worked well together. The saltiness was good, but it could have used some black pepper. It was good enough that I had to take another bite of everything. And it was just as good as the first bite with everything. This chicken and mushroom pot pie may not have had as much soggy and doughy crust as the other Fray Bentos pies I've tried, but it had a lot more meat. On the steak pie, the steak and kidney pie, and the steak meaty pud, they really skimped on the meat. I've had a piece of chicken in almost every bite I've had. And look at how much more chicken's left underneath the crust. But with every bit of good, there's got to be a little bit of bad. And really the one and only thing I didn't like about this pot pie, but it's a major thing, was the chicken. Although it did have a lot of chicken in it, and this is going to sound really stupid since it's a pot pie in a can we're talking about, even though the chicken tasted good, it was like eating canned chicken. It was very dry and overcooked. And I attribute that to two things. It was real chicken with no fillers or enhancements, and it was white meat. Kudos to Fray Bentos for using real chicken and no fillers. But white meat chicken just doesn't have the moisture or the fat to stay moist and tender without any additives to be cooked twice. This one is not one of my favorites, but it was still good. And with everything considered, I'm going to give Fray Bentos chicken and mushroom deep fill pie a 7 out of 10. If you have a favorite food from the United States or another country, please let me know what it is. And if it's available near me or online, I'll try to get it and give it a try. If you'd like to help support the Wolfe Pit, consider being a patron. You can pledge as little as $1 a month. That's only $12 for the whole year. Or you can pledge more. That's up to you. Either way, every little bit's appreciated and helps me produce more high-quality videos more often for you, the people. Thank you all very much for watching. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe, and I'll see you soon.